God wants to send you into whatever it is, fill the blank, but he doesn't necessarily want to send you with the fear that you're carrying or the insecurities that you're carrying or the...
Because that would get in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we think that being blessed is a great, amazing thing, which it is, but we don't really realize that blessing almost always carries a heavier weight than like whatever it is you're facing right now. If you think this is heavy, blessing is actually heavier. So we need to be strong. We need to be at peace. We need to be confident in who God is. Like, we can't be wavered and doubtful.
Head up, tienes el control. Dream on, tú tienes todo el power. Hands up, sube hasta el top. Work it non-stop.
Welcome to the Prosperity of Pink podcast with your host, Denitra Hall. Welcome to Prosperity of Pink podcast, where we feature guests that teaches us how to prosper in their purpose while making an impact, nurturing others with the knowledge that they have. And today we have a very, very special guest. She is a singer and now a children's book author and many, 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 many other things. Let's welcome to our podcast, Jasmine Wesley.
Big applause here.
Right.
The crowd goes wild. Hi.
Hi. I am so happy you came.
Thank you for having me. This is so sweet.
Yes. Of course, you know, we met at church, but Jasmine is she's just full of so many gifts and talents. And I want to just kind of like jump in because the first question that we ask our guests is, what does the word prosperity mean to you?
Prosperity. Well, first of all, this is so cute. Love it. I wore my pink jacket. I was like, I need to fit the theme. Yes. So, you know, we could talk all about that. I've heard you talk about, you know, your pink brand and everything, and it's really cool to see it all come to life. So again, grateful to be here. Prosperity. It's a good question. I think prosperity means, for me, specifically, being able to support myself and my family with doing the thing that I love, but with peace.
That's good.
That's like the main thing, I feel like. Or not just the thing that I love, but a thing that I believe God is calling me to do, whatever that looks like in whatever season. So right now it looks like music and writing and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, who knows where God will take us. But the biggest thing that I feel like God really showed me at the beginning of this whole journey was to pursue peace. And that was a very specific thing because, you know, going into music or any kind of industry, you verbally say the words, I'm going to pursue music or pursue acting. And God at the very beginning was like, let's be very clear. You are not pursuing music. You're not pursuing anything besides peace. And that's what the Bible says in Psalms. It tells you to pursue peace and work to maintain it. And I have seen that it is work. It actually is very challenging to maintain peace, which is kind of, it almost feels like an oxymoron, but that's been my number one mission. So yeah, that's prosperity.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of describing what prosperity means to you, because we know God is peace. Right. And so it's like you're in pursuit of him because he will provide that, you know, and I also think that was very important what you said about pursuing acting, pursuing music, pursuing whatever career that it is. Sometimes that comes with the sacrifice of peace.
Exactly.
You know?
That's what we see, you know, that's the example that we see. And I've seen it many times. A lot of people are stressed out and very anxious because of the nature of the industries that we're in. And I'm like, God, I don't know how this is going to happen peacefully, but I wouldn't want to do it any other way. So,
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. So have you always felt that way about prosperity? Like, when did you come into that aha moment for your life to be like, you know what? This is what I really need. This is what's really important.
well, the interesting thing, the thing I'm like noticing about God sometimes is that he'll kind of show you what it is before you know how much work it's going to take. Right? Because then you probably won't say yes. So, for me, it was like, I really didn't want to be a singer. I was really, really scared to sing for many, many years. No one ever heard me sing or anything. I didn't write. I didn't
that
do
is
anything.
crazy.
And I was just terrified. And the moment I said yes to singing, because I felt like it just kept coming up. I felt like it was a really strong just pull and call that I had. So I was like, fine, I'll do it, even though I can't sing and I sound terrible, because at the time I did, I swear.
Oh my God,
I did.
I don't believe that.
No, I have
That's
videos.
impossible.
No, I have actual videos of proof to show. But I was like, okay, fine, I'll do this. And at that moment, literally from the very beginning, God gave me that verse. And then it's been years now, but I'm like, oh, I can see why this was such a crucial like foundation for what I'm doing, because the more I get into it, the more blessings that come, the more
Adversity.
the more more challenge. Yeah, exactly. So it's forcing me to really really go back to that verse and be like, okay, I have to put in so much work towards the career that I have, but as much work as I have towards the career, the more I have to pursue peace. Literally, it's like, it's pretty insane how it's all working out. But
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's just like a journey.
it was a
It's like
blessing from God to give that at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so many people that don't have that foundation.
Yeah.
They don't have it. And
Yeah,
they're
of
just
course.
wanting to be, they don't know that they're somebody already. You know what I mean? They don't know that they're already, welcomed by God. They're accepted by God. So they want to be accepted by others. They're like, oh, if I just get this career and if I do this, then everybody's going to like me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So experiencing all the things that you have, how does it show up in your life? Like, what are some significant moments where you were like, you know what? Thank you, Lord. I see you.
So it's interesting. I might correct me if I'm answering this wrong.
No, it's okay.
Whatever, but it's interesting because this year has been the most fruitful year as far as like career wise. But it's also been challenging in a different way. It hasn't been challenging like before, where I was trying to heal from a lot of things in my past and just really struggling internally. I feel like God has really taken me on that journey to heal and do all that kind of stuff. But this year has been challenging, is like pruning. You know?
Yeah.
It's like we could just stay here. Like, I'm good. But God's like, let's go deeper.
Yeah.
Let's really deal with literally every area of your life. Literally every area of my life.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it's been really, really challenging. But even very practical things like time management, that is something that for some reason God was like, this is an important skill that you need to really learn.
Yeah.
And it seems like whatever, time management, but that was really challenging for me. I mean, I'm a new wife. I'm an artist. I'm like, there's just so many things going on. I'm like, it feels like it's just been really challenging.
No, I get it. Because it reminds me of like when you're like, you can clean up, like you can straighten up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
and it looks like okay.
Yeah.
But when you deep clean, it looks crazy,
Yeah.
right? It looks like,
Yeah.
am I really cleaning, or what did I do?
And you
Right?
could have lived in the. You could have lived in that. Like you could have just ignored it, but no.
No, right. You want to go. You want to get in there, get all
Yeah.
that stuff out.
That's exactly
get
how
the
it feels.
crevices, and the woodworks and all that.
Yeah, so I guess to answer your question, this whole year has been, I guess, challenging in that way, but but like I said, it's been the most fruitful. And so that's really encouraging and humbling because you get to certain accolades and you hit certain goals, but it's impossible to feel like, wow, look at me, because you know everything that you had to go through to get there. So it's just like, okay, God, I see you moving. Thank you. This is such a blessing. Let's keep going, and I can trust the journey now whenever you guide me to do this or clean that other thing or whatever,
Yes. So. I can relate a little bit to that because I think it was like, it's been over a year now, but this is back when I was just kind of like recovering, probably before I met, like a little bit before I met you. And just my mobility wasn't the best. And I was like, I'm going to make my bed every day. Like that, something as small as that.
Yeah.
Because my thing was consistency.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually like all over the place, right? So it was like, it just started from there, and I did it every day. And it started from a thing with consistency, but then also just mobility.
Yeah.
Like, it might take you 20 minutes one day, but
those little tiny things that seem so mundane and like that don't seem important are
huge.
Usually the most important things. That is what will get you to the next thing.
And that's what I was going to say. That's what I feel. Yeah. Exactly what you just said. It's like you work on something, but it gets you to the next thing.
Yep.
I feel like it brought us here.
Yeah.
I feel like it brought us here.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful for that. But I want you to share with everybody. I know you talked a little bit about what you do, but tell us a little bit more about what you do. And aside from what you do, what makes you just smile?
Yes. Okay. So I am a singer-songwriter. I'm an artist. That's basically what I do. I have other projects going on, like the kids book and
and when is that coming out? Tell us.
That is coming out in 2025.
Okay.
And that's all you're getting for now.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'll have music coming out and the book and everything coming out next year, 2025. But yeah, so that's what I do. And then what makes me smile is eating and sleeping. And
I love it. It's like
no, but really,
everybody on this show has said eating.
Well,
everybody, it's like I must have a lot of like foodies.
Yeah, that's been a thing lately. I just like to eat. But okay, so actually one thing I'm like recently like getting into, mostly because I'm married, I think, is cooking and baking. I've cooked, but I really don't like to cook for myself, so I would never cook because I live by myself. So now I'm cooking and I'm baking, and it's been super fun. And it's definitely a creative outlet. Yes. So that's fun. I do like sports. I like being outside. I like hiking and playing basketball. And
you like your little bitty short self. You like playing basketball.
Yes, I do.
I would love to see you play basketball.
Oh my gosh. No, we're good on that. I just shoot around now. I will outshoot anybody. But
that is hilarious. That is hilarious. I love that. I love it. Yeah. In addition to the things that you do, I've seen you personally like work with children and impart with them, and they just respond to you in a way that I just feel like you're anointed for that. And then you have your children's book. To write a children's book lets me know that you have a heart for kids. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes. And then using your testimony or your experiences for kids who may have experienced the same to feel seen. So when you let us know, like, what made you do that, and then also if you've ever, like, and it could be like, sometimes it's a little cousin or a niece or a neighbor or
Yeah.
something when you have maybe imparted in them, or a church member, and you've seen the fruit of the seeds that you've planted.
Yes. So the kids book came because I wanted to write a story about specifically a Dominican little girl with an afro.
I love it.
So basically me.
Yes.
But I thought it was an important story to tell. There's not a lot of specifically Dominican stories right now, being told. But a lot of people can relate to the hair journey, the whole straightening hair and like all of that fun stuff. And I grew up like that. I grew up, in the salon and all that stuff. So that was just an important story to tell. And the story specifically is a little bit different from my personal story, but this idea of generational beauty being passed down. So the story really is about the mom and how the little girl inspires her, and her grandma inspires the mom to really look at her own standards of beauty and accept the beauty that is her daughter, which is her afro and her big hair. So I think it's a beautiful story of like the connection between generations, which is really important for me. So like you said, I do love kids.
Yes.
I am actually very passionate about like that, the generational story. So understanding that what I do right now with my life is going to impact my kids and many other children and the next generation.
Yeah.
So I do a lot. I do anything with that in mind. It's easy to get caught up in like, oh, this is my life and I just want to do this just to do this. But God is a very generational God, and
He is.
obviously, and and I just see the importance and the value in. I'm always thinking about the next generation and how they're going to be impacted by what I do, which is very important, I think, when I'm doing my music stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I do have a heart for kids, and so way long ago, when I was like 19, I was like overseeing the kids ministry at my church.
What was that, like 2 years ago?
Sure, we're gonna go with that. So, I was really young, overseeing like a ministry of like 100+ kids, and I mean, it was a huge group of kids. Yeah. Wow. And it was middle schoolers specifically. So to answer your question, of course, there's always like one, but there were a few girls in that group. Actually, there were just a few kids. I was leading the worship team there, and those kids still have my heart, even though they're all taller and older than me. I mean, older now, not older than me. So that doesn't make sense. Seems that way. But yeah, there were a few girls who just really like,
tugged on your heart.
Tugged at my heart. Yeah. And I still talk to them to this day, and they're so grown and older, and it's so cute to see them all grown up. But specifically, I was leading the worship there, and a lot of them were scared to sing. And I would tell them, I was like, don't be afraid to sing, like, go after your dreams, yada, yada. And I was convicted really quick about how, I can't tell them to do that if I'm not going to do it.
That's, oh my goodness.
And I knew I was called to sing and be an artist, and that was really scary for me at the time. So, here we are.
Wow.
And
I love that.
Yeah.
Because you were really just probably seeing yourself in them, and as you were helping them, you're helping yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like God speaking through you, but then it's like coming back. That reminds me a lot when I would parent. My oldest is 25, Justin, and it was like every time I would tell him to do something, it was like God just put it back on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you need to read more. And God's like, yeah, well, you need to read my word more. Like, you know what I mean? So it was just like every single time I would
Yeah.
tell him something, it was like, God was like, oh, well, you too.
Yeah.
So I was learning that, that sometimes a lot of us that have experience being parented like this hierarchy, right? This hierarchy of authority, like that is where the buck stops, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, you know what? God was like, you still need to be parented too. You do not have it all.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to tell this kid something and I'm trying to tell you something. So I just love how, God will use us and just his people when we're imparting in other people, that he's like, no, you can use that too. you can use this word too. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It's very, very humbling, very annoying, mostly.
I know, because it's like, oh,
I know.
you talking to me? No, you're not talking
But I mean, so I was really, I think, blessed to be around specifically middle schoolers because they're like sponges. I mean, kids, they're learning and they're kind of figuring out. They just kind of do what you tell them to do. High school is like they're kind of on the other spectrum.
Yeah, they're like,
but
oh yeah,
right
we're
in
grown.
the middle there is those middle schoolers who really want to know what you think and want and are observing everything. And I had such a heart for them, and I think that made me super careful about what I did and how I did things. And I'm not perfect, obviously, but I think that's kind of stuck with me, is just like people are always watching, and it's not to like people please and not to do things for people, but if I can consider how I'm living my life to inspire and hopefully plant a seed in somebody else, then that's hopefully what I can do. So
yes, and that's just spreading more prosperity, and I just think them looking at you because you were 19, and it's probably was something that they felt was attainable. You know what I mean? It's like somebody, because a lot of times with the older people, you're like, oh,
yeah.
you don't know my pain. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You're like, you had to walk to school for, that type
Yeah.
of thing. It's like,
Right.
but
Not walk to school.
yeah, well, I'm aging myself, but our parents used to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what do you know?"
Back in my day.
And back in my day, I had no shoes. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
had shoes. Like, shut up.
Well, I think my mom didn't have shoes, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they always have these stories,
Yeah.
and it's like
It's hard to relate. Yeah.
Yeah, and so a lot of times it's like, well, but when you see someone that is older but yet still youthful and want to pour into you, it's like, oh yeah, like, okay, yeah, I could believe her. So that's really, 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 really special. Speaking of this, let's talk about something that you can give. Like, what advice would you give people in general, but in particularly, since we're talking about young people, like a young girl who may feel stuck or lost, or may feel like how you felt, like you just couldn't sing with that is like crazy to me. Guys, what is your website? Do you have a website, or is it TikTok, or
You want to see those videos? Is that what it is?
no, I was going to tell them to go look at you sing now.
Okay.
Because that would be impossible to believe that you couldn't sing. But
It's Jasmine Wesley, ITS Jasmine Wesley.
It's Jasmine Wesley. Okay. So yes, on all platforms. So make sure you hear her sing, because that alone, if you're feeling, if you're doubting yourself, would, especially if it's something that God's telling you. Now, if it's something your
Right.
mama telling you, your grandma telling you, and then you get on American Idol or
Yeah.
what was it? And then you embarrass your family. Back in the day, it was like Apollo, and then they had they have the little Sandman. But we're saying, remember that?
You lost me there.
Oh, see, I'm
No.
aging
Yeah.
myself. Okay.
It's okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
So back in the day, there was
Yeah.
a show called Apollo, and it was like
I'm sure
they
it was
would have
amazing.
amateur night at Apollo, right?
Okay.
And this is so funny. So people would go on this show.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of famous people that we know now that would go on the
Okay.
show, and but there were some people that were just weren't as talented as they probably thought that they were, and the Sandman would come because they would get booed off and they would have to leave the stage. So I'm saying, if God is telling you that you have a gift in whatever capacity, to just listen to her testimony, but I'm going to let you talk so you can offer a word of encouragement to someone who may be feeling lost or stuck or just uncertain or just don't have the confidence to pursue what God is calling them to do.
Okay, let me think about this. Okay. Let me just say something you probably don't want to hear, but I would say if you don't have the confidence to do what you are called to do, I would encourage anyone to take the time to really know who God is and know who God says you are. Yeah. Because I mean, I spent many years literally with God healing and doing those two things, knowing who he is and knowing who I am.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
nobody knows that because obviously, whatever, we only see what I post now and what's happening now, I guess. But I had some really low, like, isolated years where I spent a lot of time doing that. And I did that on purpose because somebody actually told me a long time ago, and I kind of held on to this, this idea that God wants to send you into whatever it is, fill the blank, but he doesn't necessarily want to send you with the fear that you're carrying or the insecurities that you're carrying or the...
Because that would get in the way.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we think that being blessed is a great, amazing thing, which it is, but we don't really realize that blessing almost always carries a heavier weight than like whatever it is you're facing right now. If you think this is heavy, blessing is actually heavier. So we need to be strong. We need to be at peace. We need to be confident in who God is. Like, we can't be wavered and doubtful and like,
right.
second guessing like our faith, you know, it
Too much is given, much is required.
exactly,
And that is required of you. It's the peace. It is the loyalty to God. That those things, are you gonna be doubtful when, because if you're going from blessing to blessing, from faith to faith, like you said, you're gonna be met with, can I trust you with this?
Yeah.
Can I trust you to maintain it? Because we're seeing it now, in your industry, we're seeing it now.
Yeah.
The major falls.
Yeah.
The people who have built these big empires and things like that, and they're just crashing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
think all this stuff is great. Like, obviously I love performing and like all this stuff is so cool and whatever, but at the end of the day, none of it really matters. I mean, God is still we're still accountable to God at the end of the day. Like, we can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it matters, but it doesn't at the same time. It's
right.
not.
Because only what we do for, what is it? What you do for Christ will last.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing it with that intention, like you said, with those things in mind, it really doesn't matter. And also, I think it's very important to know that you can get blessed by the other side, by the enemy, you know? And so like a lot of people think, oh, you know, God's blessing me. And it's like, no, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes. And I think that's why we have to be mindful of, you know, when we're, you know, all these things are happening. It's like we need to check our heart to see, you know, do we have the fruit of the Spirit? Are we loving? Are we kind? Are we patient? Do we have faith? Like all those different things. I think that really, do we have self-control? Because sometimes when you get a lot of things, that power, the self-control is like, oh no, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do that. You know? It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So, and we've seen it too in the world that, you know, we're in. It's like, you know, we don't lead with that. You would never know if you didn't ask, right? But you have a lot of people that will lead with that. Well, and they'll do one show, get one little mini trailer, and think that they're like, oh, you know, it's like,
and it's easy to do that. It's easy to do that.
It is.
You know,
but
like
that's why you got to know who you are. Yeah, like
exactly.
what you just said. You
no,
know?
exactly, and have people in your life that are gonna be super honest with you. Like, my husband will not let me get a big head. Literally,
I love
like
it.
he
I
just
love
like,
it.
I'm sorry, what? Where were you last year? Oh yeah, making sandwiches at Jersey Mike's.
Hey, I know that's not Subway, but that was like the sandwich artist. Like, listen, I'm making these sandwiches though. Like,
You know, it's like, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think that I think it's, we can't really do anything. Like, I can imagine even being a mom or being a wife. Like, I can't do anything outside of knowing my own worth first and being healed
that's so
within
key.
myself, because
That's so key.
then I'm going to constantly be needing other people to approve of me and tell me if I'm doing something good or if I am worth whatever. And I lived my life like that. I lived my life people pleasing and needing
the validation.
No, like needing it.
Yeah.
I couldn't survive without validation from other people. And so, you know, naturally, I had to go through many years of just like unlearning and relearning where my value comes from and what that even means and why that's important, you know?
Yeah. I think so many people can relate to that, you know, and just, it takes courage to go on that journey. Because it's scary.
Not easy. Yeah.
You know, it's scary.
Because you don't necessarily know what's on the other side of that.
That part, you know, that
Right.
part, you know, and then it's like, it's kind of like, you know, being on training wheels, and then it's like, ooh, don't take them off because it get a little wobbly. But yeah, I've been through something a little similar where just post like a really, really bad heartbreak, I had a literal come to Jesus moment, like literal, like that was like one of my, that's a story for another day, but that.
What?
Like
Jesus?
a come to Jesus, like, you know, like the Lord spoke to me, like, and I had never had that experience before. And I'll share with you what he said. He said, I was coming out of my, what do you call that? Like, I lived in this condo thing. So this is back in Michigan. And for context, if anybody, this is back in like the early 2000s. So, was it early 2000s? Or no, this was in the 90s. This was in the 90s. Was it 90s? No, 2000. So this happened in 2000 because like Justin was like 1 year old. And I was coming out of the thing and I was at a stop sign. So just to give you context, so Dearborn is known for two things, right? At the time, like I don't know what it is now because it's like 25 years ago, but the largest Middle Eastern community, right? In Michigan, I think in the United States lived there, right? And then also racist cops. So it's like so for me to just be sitting at that stop sign, and there was usually always a cop like right there sitting, just waiting for somebody to like do a rolling stop, right? But at the stop sign, I had to been at that stop sign for like a long time. I didn't hear anybody honk at me or anything. My baby was in the back, right? He was quiet. He didn't bother me, like,
Yeah.
like, mommy, or, say something or whatever. He didn't bother me. And I heard it clear as day. And I knew it was the Lord. He said, either you're going to follow him or you're going to follow me, but you need to choose. And I just had tears coming down my face. So this is going to date me, but I remember paging a beeper. I remember
It's okay. You look so good. It doesn't matter.
Thank you. I remember paging my friend Cheryl. Shout out to Cheryl. And she called me back. I said, hello. She said, you're ready, aren't you? She didn't even say hello. She said, you're ready, aren't you? And I just was like, oh my God. I was like, yes, I was like, I'm ready. Da, da, da. And she was like, okay, meet me at my house. This had to have been like on a Wednesday or something, because she took me to her Bible class that night. And so that was the day where I stopped everything. The way I spoke, the way I dressed, cut off all relationships, like immediately. Yeah. And for me, my husband always teases me. He's like, you don't have a middle ground. You're either one extreme or the next. And so that moment even reminds me of that, because I just went straight in. Yeah. And I wasn't raised in the church. So like, I didn't have any, like, you know what I mean? Like nothing to like, fall back, like a memory to be like, oh, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's just like, I just did it. Yeah. And that was the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have a reference point, but I went through that whole journey of just learning how to love myself, learning how to just trust God. Yeah. And that is hard. And I had to go through that with a child.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine that.
Yeah. So it's like, but now being on this side, this is why it's really important, because God, he won't fail you. You know what I mean? Even going through it with a kid, I think they see, you know what I mean? They see, and God covers. Right. And so my kids, I think they see me in a way where if I didn't have that, it's like this respect level, because they know mommy has a relationship with God. Yeah. I don't force it on them or anything like that, but they get to see that it's real. Yeah. Because I had a real moment. Yeah. And it wasn't like, which I thought was like, oh my, I don't know, maybe because I'm dramatic, maybe God had to come to me in that way. I don't know.
Probably.
I mean? Yeah. It's like
he knows how to speak to us. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, he does. Because I can be a skeptic at sometimes, but that moment was like, oh no, like I know that this is God. Yeah. And for Cheryl to say, are you ready? You're ready, aren't you? And I'm like, what? Like, how do you know what I'm calling you? But anyway, I just to go back to what you were saying, that sometimes you need that time to where you just dedicate your uncertainty, like you said, you're not knowing what's on the other side. You have to give that over, and that's hard, but you learn to lean in more when you start to see the fruit of you just trusting. Yeah. So I think that's really good. Absolutely. And would you say that helps you be a better wife, going through that experience?
Yeah. So it's funny because I actually met him before this time that I was going through all this healing stuff. And, he's always like, you didn't want to date me at the time. But like, it was a blessing. I wasn't who I am now. I just wasn't, it wasn't the time, and so whenever it was the time, now we're here, we're married. But, I needed to go through that time for so many reasons, And the interesting thing is that it actually started with, a dating fast.
Oh my God.
I know. I thought I was doing a dating fast, and which, by the way, God had told me to do 5 years earlier, and I didn't listen. So there you go.
Oh.
But I always thought those were cheesy. I was like, I'm not gonna do this. This is dumb. Like whatever. But
I love that.
yeah. But I did it, and it was the best. It was really, really great 6 months that I spent doing that. And of course, we didn't hardly even talk about dating at all. It was everything else that God was just healing. So.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And then I met Hess like a few months after that. So
Oh, wow.
I
That
know.
is so amazing.
Or we started dating, I should say. But yeah. I always thought
Wow.
those stories were pretty cheesy, but whatever had happened. So
Listen, before I got back with Harold, I was like almost 5 years, just like nothing. Like,
Yeah.
but it was intentional.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like, no,
yeah,
I really need to repair myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like,
we all
you
need
know,
that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm, like you said, I'm so grateful that I did that, because I would have definitely been a different person.
Yeah.
I was a different person. There's no ifs,
Yeah.
ands, or buts about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Unrecognizable.
I know, right?
Look at us.
Look at us. So speaking of us now,
Yeah.
so when you were a child, maybe around 10 years old, could you imagine yourself being who you are today?
I think in some ways yes, and in some ways no. I was just really scared as a child. I was scared of everything, like everything, just scared of life and everything. So in that way, no, but in other ways, I've always had this like, I don't know. I always felt so different. Always felt so I just didn't fit in.
Yeah.
I just did not fit in, like, at all, just in any way. And I've always had this idea that I was gonna be doing something different than everybody around me. I didn't fully know what that was, but I saw it happen in my life, like in so many ways since I was very young. And I would always have these like really big dreams of like what I would be doing. And I, people were like, okay, whatever. But yeah, it didn't really make sense to me or other people, but I couldn't shake what I knew, so that was really always interesting. So yeah, in some ways I think God had always been preparing me.
Yeah. You just
So I
didn't
had a
understand
sense.
as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at the same time I was just like scared and really insecure. So I just thought like I could never do anything worth anything. And then, high school didn't help. So high school is really tough. And so, yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. But
Amen.
it all worked out.
Yeah. I
Thank
love
God.
that, because now you could,
Yeah.
champion that 10-year-old. Like, girl, we made it. Look. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that way, when you're able to, impart in your books and other kids, it's just like, you can speak from those places.
And something that came out of that was like around 17 years old, I had this like epiphany, and I was like, I kind of always heard people say what they would tell their younger self, and this made me think of it. And I was like, I got really into that for some reason. I was like looking up what people say to their younger selves, and I think this was like just wisdom that was given to me, because I was literally like, what are people saying that they wish they did when they were younger?
Yes.
And for some reason, reading all of those things that people would say made me, I just had this understanding. I was like, wait, why, if these people are all saying basically the same things, let me just do that now. Let me just get really good at what all these people are saying they wish they did.
Yeah.
Follow their dreams, travel,
Yes.
love the people close to them, tell them that they love them, have meaningful, like literally all of these things were very common. And so I kind of like took that. I mean, I was 17, like, so young, it was right before I moved to LA. And I was like, I want to live my life in a way that when I look back on my life, I will never have to say, ever, 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 I wish I did blank. The only thing I want to tell myself when I look back is Good job.
Good job.
I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how I live my life. And that means facing a lot of fears and doing a lot of uncomfortable and challenging things. And that means reading books when I don't want to. And
yes.
What else do we always wish we just did? Like,
I know. And
anything
just
that I
giving
feel, I'm
yourself
just like,
grace
yeah.
in the process as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no,
that as
even
well.
not living with stress or not living,
Yes.
anxious and not be holding on to unforgiveness. Like, literally all of these things, anything that I can think of that I'm like, I want to live this. I actually work towards those things, and it's a lot of work.
Yes.
But
yes, but it's good.
That's the thing we don't talk about enough. Even if God has called you to something, that does not mean it's going to be easy.
No.
Actually, that might require more work.
Yeah.
Because the example, if I wanted to just be an artist, just for being an artist's sake, then cool, I'd be doing all the things I'm doing now. But because God called me, I want to also do it with peace, which requires more work. So it's like, we know how to make money and get on stage and do our thing.
There we go. But the peace factor.
But that's not what I'm called to do. So it's going to require something else of me. So it's like, there's work, there's hours of just mundane things that need to be put into what we're doing. And I have learned to, I'm not always like, yay, but like really understand this is the important stuff. This is what's going to get me one more block as I'm building, and just really understanding that is like, okay.
Yeah, that's, that's really key, is understanding the small things get you to the big things, because sometimes, that was something that I struggle with. It's like, no, I wanted everything to be great.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you got to start somewhere. And, so that's really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, just giving yourself grace and knowing that it's going to be work.
Yeah.
You're not just going to get there.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And people, like, something so simple, like, people are like, oh, I love your videos on Instagram. They look so good. I'm like,
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
And they're like, how do you do it? I want to do it. No, you don't. I can guarantee you don't want to do this. We literally set up and tear down our living room, which you understand.
I know, it's the life in LA.
But like,
yeah,
that is really annoying when you're trying to have a peaceful house and a clean house and you know what I mean? Like, nobody really wants to do that. So, like, I commend you.
Yes,
like, I understand.
Yeah, you get it.
I understand. Like, even some friends who are doing it, like, I hear they're like, I don't want to. You set this up every day. Yes. Every day and tear it down.
Yes. It's a commitment.
This is what we're doing. Yes.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And
it's like a thing. Yes.
And people don't understand, like,
it's not glamorous.
And other, like, we have obviously friends in other places, and when we go visit them, they have like guest bedrooms, and they have like really nice
space.
They have a lot of space, right? They're like, oh yeah, we can host you guys, and the whole family's coming. It's like, oh my god, I couldn't even host half a person if I wanted to.
But here's the other thing is that you do though. That's the ironic thing. You do host people. I've been here before. You hosted me at your own house.
Yeah.
I host people. I have people over my house.
Yeah.
Like,
that's true. That's
the thing, I think, when people have a lot and sometimes they forget what, or I don't know what their situation is, but like I find the people who have less sometimes understand that if I'm faithful with this, God is going to keep moving. Like, amen. It's outgrowing, so even like this, what I'm seeing now, is going to outgrow. Got to keep doing it. Got to keep being consistent. I don't know exactly like what verse it is, but it's like the idea of like the tent's growing because our capacity is getting bigger. I laugh about it. Like, our living room is half the size of this one, and it includes the kitchen basically. So it's like this, and I'm like perfect. We're going to use up every corner because we're going to outgrow this into something bigger, into a bigger house.
I love that.
It's like
idea.
the perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
is.
perfect. That corner is not taken yet. Let's put something right up there. Your trophies, your awards, perfect.
I love it.
And it's like the mentality, like,
yes,
we're not lacking anything. Everything is very specifically placed. God has given this to you. Like, it's growing. It's growing. That's the point.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Thank you for
just
that
be
perspective.
encouraged.
Yes.
Be encouraged. Yeah,
yes.
because at the end of the day, like, if you had a bigger house, okay, wonderful, you'd have more space, but then you'd have to do that like I feel like we get so caught up in the next thing, which is obviously a blessing, but
we don't
like
get the right now.
Right now, like,
right
what's
now.
amazing about this right now? Let's enjoy it as much as we can. Like, for me, it's like, I'm so close to my husband every day, literally just right here. And he's like, I need space. But I'm like, one day we will have.
I'm like that with
You're
Harold.
the
No, I like, like when the pandemic happened, I was like, yes, like, I get to be
we're all right here, just together. Yeah, that's definitely me.
I'm just, I'm just trying to watch TV.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you don't want to watch TV with me? Like,
no, I love that. But it's like, one day we will have this space, and we're gonna miss these little moments. So let's just like not forget.
Yes.
Just live this right now. I actually have a song coming out next year.
You
just gotta live this moment.
That's
like,
what it's called?
No.
Oh,
that's not what it's called, but that's what it says. There's a line in there. So we just gotta live this moment. We can't let it pass by. Like, we don't even know if tomorrow is coming.
There it is. We don't.
That's the crazy thing.
We don't.
And that goes back to for me, like, knowing who God is and knowing who I am, and just every moment is an opportunity to be our fullest selves.
Yes.
And we're so worried about if this guy likes me, what rent's going to be like, this and that. We're so worried. I could be worried about, like, you know, if the industry like, we're so worried about these things, but we don't even know if tomorrow is coming.
We don't know if tomorrow's coming.
And I have you right here, and I have my husband, and I have my family, and things that actually are tangible right now that matter. Amen. And we're so worried about what's not even right here. It's just like, it's crazy to me. And I try my best to, like, remember.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that matters right now.
And I think that just brings forth a prosperity mindset.
Yeah.
Knowing what's important, knowing what matters. Because if not, you know, your priorities can get all jacked up. Yeah. Well, I am just so happy that you came here to talk with us. I think that this conversation was amazing, amazing. But before you go, I want you to tell everybody the things that you can say. Yeah. Let us know, where can we find you? Where can we listen to your music? Because we were listening to your music. I was just like, Alexa, play songs by Jasmine Wesley. Oh. And yes, and there was one song. Mm-hmm. It was in Spanish, so but is it Desfritos or
Disfruto.
I love that song. Me and Kendall Dre I was like, because I asked Alexa, I was like, what's the name of this song?
So that whole EP is cover songs. So I go live a lot on social media, and I have a wonderful community there. And basically I picked, like, the top songs from all social media platforms that have really resonated with people. Either they've gone viral, or people just are like, I love this song. So just the two of us, Bésame Mucho,
that was so good.
Disfruto, No Me Queda Más, and Three Little Birds.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like every song has a special meaning, and the community that is on my journey with me, they know what's been going on behind the scenes. So that album, that EP was like a milestone. Like, look at all of this that we've accomplished this last year. Cool. I'm going to remember this forever with this project. It was like a milestone. I'm going to remember it. And now we're moving on to original music, which I'm very excited about. I do have one more cover coming out literally November 1st, which will be already released. And I have a Christmas song.
Oh my goodness.
That is an original song, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I think it's going to be an important song. It's literally it's a song to remember our loved ones who have passed in this season. I know this season is super hard for a lot of people, especially the last 4 years. I'm sure everybody basically can relate to that. But I wanted to write a song saying, we wouldn't even know if we're feeling sadness. We wouldn't even know what happiness was if it wasn't for them being here. So we wouldn't even be feeling this if it wasn't for the joy that we felt.
Know I'm gonna cry if I hear that song.
I know it's in Spanish, but I will give you the translated lyrics. I cry when I listen
know a little
to
Spanish,
it. Oh,
but
you know. Perfecto.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited, and I think that song is gonna be really special. So, and then next year's all original music, but you can find me on all streaming platforms, and everything is Jasmine Wesley. All social medias, it's Jasmine Wesley, ITS Jasmine Wesley. I have a website, which is amazing. JasmineWesley.com.
I love it.
And
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So make sure you follow her on all social media platforms. It's Jasmine Wesley. And make sure you visit her website, JasmineWesley.com. And if you have an Alexa or, I don't know, what
Siri.
is it? Siri, all that stuff, you can just say, hey, play music by Jasmine Wesley, and you will be blessed. Yes, we were just vibing out. It's just such a vibe.
Oh, thank you.
It really is. It's something that calms you. Yeah.
I get that a lot, yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's a blessing.
just so anointed, which I think is just so crazy that you didn't think you could sing. That's just so mind-blowing to me. Yeah. So that's a wrap. Thank you guys for visiting and watching Prosperity of Pink.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming, girl.
Head up, tienes el control. Dream on, tú tienes todo el power. Hands up, súbela hasta el top. Work it non-stop.
Thank you for watching the Prosperity of Pink podcast.